Good evening, welcome to Talkin Kop. It's me, Chris Brack. It's him, Kev O'Sullivan. They've let us loose again, Kev. We're going to do a bit of a preview, aren't we, mate?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is kind of like the game that's after the Lord Mayor's show, isn't it? You've had your Real Madrid, you've had your Man City. Now we're on the travels and off to Newcastle against a guy who can't get a result against us for love nor money. Even when we're down to 10 men, he can't get a result against us.
And they hate us.
And they hate us, yeah. They hate us for it. But yeah, it's going to be it's massive. It's massive tomorrow night for sure. So yeah,
it's always a good atmosphere at St James's Park anyway. And our recent record with Newcastle is good. I think we've won our last 6. We're undefeated in 6 now against Newcastle. The last 6, they draw 1-1-5. So I think 2015 was the last time we tasted defeat to them. I think which was at St James's Park. So. But yeah, we've had some mad games at St James's Park. We had the Darwin Núñez and Gakpo goals, and then Nick Pope gets himself sent off.
Yeah,
so it's the final, and we saw Karius with his leather gloves, his brown leather gloves. They were horrendous.
Yeah. They're always eventful games. Let's put it that way. And I expect tomorrow night will be absolutely no different, because these games, look. Anytime you go and playing a side whose ambition is to get into the top 6 and to look to push on from there, you know it's going to be a tough test. And almost every game in the Premier League away from home is a tough test. And the volume of games are just going to come thick and fast from here on. It's seen it in one of the press conferences. We've got 9 games, 6 away games 6 away games in the next 9.
Yeah.
So it's going to be tough. So we'll see how we get on. But I think every player in the squad who's fit and available over December is going to be used at some point. So it's all about maintaining the standards that we've set, keeping the points total ticking over, and minding the gap. Simple as that.
Speaking of minding the gap, Leicester City have just made it 3-0 against West Ham. Honestly, I've only seen the second half of this game. Leicester City have barely had a kick all game. I've scored 3 goals. It's mental. But that now drops Everton to just above the relegation zone. Because that's 2 clubs that's leapfrogged them. Because Palace got a massive win, only their second win of the season. So there aren't many wins. I think from Palace below, it's 2 wins or 1 win all season. So both ends of the table, it's going to be an interesting couple of days coming up.
I think you could look at it. This could be the couple of days where the league starts to fragment a bit. We've got a big game tomorrow night in Newcastle. You've got Arsenal, Manchester United. You've got a couple of other big games going on in the Premier League as well over the next two sets of fixtures, where you could see the table really start to separate. Because as it stands at the minute, there's, from maybe 10th up to 2nd or 3rd. The points gap isn't massive on paper, but you could start to see it fragment, I think, over the next few weeks.
I think when you look at the league table, you got both the 13 who've got 5 wins or 18 points. Then it's West Ham on 4 wins, Leicester on 3. I think West Ham were hoping if they'd won tonight, it would just cut away to just being Leicester below is the dogfight. Everybody else is kind of fighting mid-table, fighting for Europa League. Go on, so on and so forth. That loss might drag West Ham into more of a relegation worry. As in, I don't think they'll go down, but as in, they're in that mix now of not what they want to be.
Well, me and Gav had a chat last night about this, and it was along the lines with Lopetegui. Do West Ham push the button on him before the transfer window? And is it a case? Do you remember when Palace signed your man, De Boer?
De Boer.
And it just didn't work.
He only got... Well, I think that's why the draw... I think the last 2 results for Palace are massive for their manager, because Palace's owners as an itchy trigger finger, and he's not afraid to give sort of 12 games. That'll do. Yeah. Off you go, sunshine. Back to Roy Hodgson.
I think West Ham could pull the trigger. I think the weekend...
David Moyes go back.
I think the weekend for West Ham is huge. And it's a case of, look, they've had back-to-back European runs, won a trophy in Europe, which is huge for West Ham. But if it looks like they're scraping around the bottom end of the table again, I think they'll definitely press the button. They're not. They won't like it. I mean, that stadium is huge. That stadium needs to be full.
I mean, West Ham don't play again until Monday at home to Wolves. I mean, this is a big. Speaking of Wolves, the next 2 games are massive. Wolves away to Everton, away to West Ham.
Right,
they're massive away games. Listen, if Wolves win tomorrow night, they leapfrog Everton. So we are in the world of 6-pointers now, and just
okay.
One win.
Oh yeah, for sure. Listen, we need to explain it. I need to explain this a little bit. I went playing around on this thing that we use to put the podcast out, and I found a little thing where you can change your background. And instead of you guys looking into my kitchen and me trying to hide the dishes by the sink, I thought, right, I'm going to upload a couple of images. We're going to see how it works, see what you guys think of it. If you don't mind them, then we'll keep them. If you do mind them and you're like, nah, get rid of that as fake shit, we'll get rid of them and we'll just I'll go back to hiding the mess that's in the kitchen over my shoulder. No problem whatsoever.
I don't want you talking about, Kev. This is my back room. I got this painted yesterday.
You wish.
I do, actually. I do. I don't think Mr. Beard let me.
If you guys don't mind it, leave a like on the video, leave a comment after the show. If you want us to keep them, let us know. If you don't want us to keep them, let us know. And that's all this is. We're just we'll keep changing stuff around until we find something we like, or we'll just leave it alone. It's either or. But anyway, listen, the reason why we're here is...
Oh, yeah, we're playing Newcastle, aren't we? Let's talk about
that. Newcastle United away tomorrow night. And I watched the extended highlights as far as I was prepared to go of the game against Crystal Palace at the weekend. And on my life, Crystal Palace left 2 points behind them. I don't care that Newcastle scored first. Newcastle were so lucky to come out of that game with anything. They were really off it.
How often did you see a game where it goes 1-1, Newcastle goals, shots on target 0?
Yeah. It was one of those weird kind of games where I think Palace played to their potential.
Palace should have won.
And Newcastle were way below par. And I don't know. I don't think they've got that many performances like that in them this season, Newcastle, but they were poor at the weekend. And
I mean, they lost home to West Ham recently, and West Ham are dreadful.
They are, but you go back a bit further. They've beaten Chelsea in the Cup. They've beaten Arsenal.
Got a draw with City.
Got a draw with City when City were actually on a bit of a run.
The bigger games suit them. The way they set up, the bigger games suit them, actually.
Well, this is the thing. And you got to look at... I watched Eddie Howe's press conference. You lot really owe me a pint if ever I meet you. I sat and watched Eddie Howe's press conference for you.
No one made you.
I did it for them. I didn't do it for you. But it was...
Look at Kissing us here. Listen, Ashley's still the favourite out of us 4. So,
Well, yeah. That ship sailed, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, I think Matt's ahead of you, me as well.
Oh, Matt, after his adventures at the weekend with his...
Listen, he needs to stop showing off and moonlighting on one of Gav's shows. He needs to do it on our show. That's his job now.
I'm saying this now. That was nothing to do with Matt. That was Buffy who did all of that. That was Matt's better half who did all of the work.
Matt took all the credit for it. But honestly,
took all the credit for it.
100%. You haven't seen the show Sunday, honestly, watch it. It's so funny. It's the best. Gav play with his sound of it. It's the funniest. It's one of the funniest things I've seen we've done.
Yeah. But anyway, listen, let's get on to this. Newcastle have injury issues. Alexander Isak went off with a hip issue. And the way Eddie Howe was describing it...
He's told Bean he's okay, though, isn't he?
No. The way Eddie Howe was describing it was it's one of those issues that he's going to have. It's going to be day by day, take time to assess it. But he came off early in that game. And
30 minutes.
Yeah. It just looked like one of those things where... Do you ever have it where you've just walked into something and you didn't expect to do it? and you get that pain in your hip, and you're like, ooh, maybe it's just me because I'm getting older. And
it's probably when you crack your knee, when you catch your kneecap wrong and your leg goes a bit like jelly. It's a bit like that. So it looks.
So
listen, it must be a sore one because he's only half an hour of the game and he didn't even attempt to get back up. So
the other injury issue that they have at the minute is at the back with Dan Burn.
He might be back in the day, but he'd be touch and go.
Yeah, he's been managing an ankle issue for a while, and he hasn't been managing it well in game. His mobility at the best of times ain't great, but it's he's playing through
a pain barrier for him.
The pain barrier for the badge at the minute, because I don't think they have any. Sven Botman is still out, Emil Kraft is still out, Jamal Lascelles is still out. Yeah. So,
because they were lucky they lost Botman and Lascelles pretty much back to back, didn't they, with ACLs last season?
Yeah,
I think it was pretty much back to back. It was like just one of those one of those moments where it never rains, it pours. In the same position. We've lived that.
Yeah, but at the same time, they've got danger.
I like the fullbacks, especially. I think for what they want to do for the counter-attacks, I think their fullbacks could cause you problems. But they've got pace to burn on the wings.
They do. But, I'm looking at the predicted lineups, and there are two different predicted lineups, really. If you look on the BBC, their predicted lineup has Isaac in it. Ours, the other one that I tend to really go by doesn't, and I don't think it will. I don't think Isaac plays tomorrow. I think he might be on the bench as a break glass emergency, just in case.
Yeah, because Callum Wilson was back on the bench, wasn't he, for them? But again, he only came on. Did he come on late in the Palace game? Because I know they didn't bring him on when Isaac got injured.
Yeah,
because he's only just back, isn't he?
It's like any game, especially away from home. The battle is in the middle of the park, and if you've got, it looks like they'll more than likely have a midfield of Sean Longstaff, Bruno Guimaraes, Willock, or Tonali. Tonali is.
He's in and out at the moment, isn't he?
He's in and out. He's coming off the bench. So if you're looking at a midfield three of Longstaff, Guimaraes, and Willock, Murphy probably plays. Gordon will more than likely play through the middle, and Joe Linton is listed as a winger, but he won't. He'll supplement the midfield.
Yeah.
So
and just kick shit out of everybody who comes near him because he gets away with it.
He's one of those every time. But you're right about the fullbacks, Hall and Livramento. They'll look to get forward at every opportunity.
Best thing they did was to give Trippier his time and say, like, right, it's now time to put youngsters in.
Yeah,
because they need some sort of pace in it.
Yeah. Are you looking forward to it, or are you a bit nervous about it? Bearing in mind the fact that we've had a massive week. Genuinely, if you look back at last week. Just coming back, you had the Southampton fixture, and you're like, oh, yeah, 3-2. We got out of it. We played all right. I think we played well. We gave away silly goals. Bouncing into the Madrid game and then the Man City game. I don't think anyone expected to come out of those with 2 clean sheets and 2 wins.
I probably should have won by more.
Yeah,
in both games.
So how are you feeling going into this one?
Slightly anxious because you kind of go, you're now in that routine of you've got to keep the momentum going now, and that's difficult. But there's quite a few players now who know that, and obviously, the likes of Van Dijk and Szoboszlai all know what happened there last year. So you can't let the crowd get on top of you. You can't give them an easy out because let's be honest, that there is a sliding doors moment last year where they probably should have scored at least 2 or 3 before we got an equaliser. They hit the post. There was a wonder save by Alisson.
Yeah.
So
Alisson played really well at that.
Yeah. So Newcastle is a difficult game. It might play into our hands this little run now because the likes of City, Liverpool, Arsenal, United, they're used to 3 games a week because they were playing in Europe. Newcastle haven't done this for a while. Haven't done this year, and Everton will go with a similar boat. And you tend to find this is where it stretches squads. to do 3 games in a week. Santander's nicked the stat that I'd actually done research on, so I'm really annoyed over, because that's part of my starting lineup. Darwin has to start. He's just got to think about Newcastle. It just seems to be a ground that he's got a bit of a liking for. Like Robbie Fowler loved Arsenal. Darwin Núñez seems to like games against Newcastle, and like Fowler loved Arsenal. So I would give him this run. I also think Shaw and Dan Burns' lack of mobility. I don't think they want Darwin's physicality and pace. And I think you saw what he did to Diaz for City. I think he could probably do a similar job for an hour there. I think that's kind of what you'd want from him. So we'll go through predicted lineups, because you may have discussed this over the last couple of days, and we disagree on our lineups.
No, you and me disagree.
I know. Who'd have known it? Because we're the best of mates all the time. But no. But again, whether the lineup is the one I pick or the one you pick, we're both like, I'm grand with either. To be honest, you can just make it. You can make an argument for different ones. So, based on the manager's press conference, which, by the way, if you haven't seen it, it was actually a more interesting press conference, because generally, he's quite straight down the line slot, doesn't say too much, but he had a bit of a pearl of a line there, didn't he, to the Mo Salah question. So
we'll come back to that later.
We'll come back to that. But he mentioned, in terms of injuries, he said Alisson will be back in goal before the end of December. When he's fit, he will be playing. So that, and he says, and Queeve knows that. But he did put a 10 in line, which he said, but not until he's 100%. So they're definitely not taking the risk they took last time, because they clearly put him back in when he maybe wasn't quite 100%. But Queeve's shown Slot how good he is. He's like, I don't need to rush him back at all.
No.
He didn't really touch on any of the other injuries. He just said Chiesa's back in full training and he's getting closer. I don't think Chiesa will make the squad. You might see him on the bench for Everton, maybe.
Yeah, don't mind that. I want to see him travelling. I want to see him travelling with the squad. And I want to see him.
I mean, he looked fit when we beat Real Madrid, because he was very much celebrating when he scored. So he's definitely buying into the thing. Then
I don't think he's as far away as what people think. But it's just finding the right game.
Yeah,
it's finding the right game, and I just don't think the next two are the right games to be dropping a player into it where their lack of minutes could be exposed. We're forced into one. You don't really want to be forcing yourself into 2 or 3. Not at the same time at the minute when you don't have to. But someone said earlier, rotation can be a strength, and we definitely do need to be able to chop and change the side with the volume of football that's coming, because it's not going to stop.
Yeah, John asking when's Jota back. I think Slot said before the international break that he'd be back after this international break, and he said, I know that's 6 months. He said probably a couple of weeks after it. So I've always had in my head Jota will be in the squad for the Derby or Fulham. They're the two.
Yeah.
I think it's one of them he's back for, and I think that's kind of when they expected him back.
I think you're more looking at hopefully getting him a start in the League Cup.
Yep.
I think he might be on the bench for the game before, even if he gets 10, 20 minutes at the end. But I think you'd hope to see him with a couple of others starting in that League Cup game. I think that would probably be the best way to use that.
Yeah.
But
okay, let's do our 11, and then we'll go on. We'll do a position. We'll see if we agree. So goalie, we both say Kelleher, don't we?
Yeah.
I'm keeping the back four the same.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying Kwanzaa will come on for the last 15, 20 minutes for Trent, which the manager's pretty much said is going to happen.
I tell you what, and this wouldn't surprise me. I wouldn't be a bit surprised. I think Trent won't play the 90, 100%.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be a bit surprised if you see Curtis Jones used as a right back, depending on the game situation.
He's done it before, hasn't he?
Exactly, because I think if you're, touch wood and everything is going hunky-dory and you're 2-0 up with 20 minutes to go, I think you could put Joe Gomez on onto left back, take Robertson out of it,
Yeah,
put Kwanzaa in as centre back, and maybe take someone else off, bring Harvey Elliott on for 20 minutes for Trent, and put Gomez back into right back. But this is all ifs, buts, and maybes, depending on how the game situation goes, because that's a win-win to get Harvey minutes. It's a win-win to get Robertson off the pitch for the last 20, and it brings Gerald Kwanzaa back into centre back as well. So look,
Thor's saying Jota back for Leicester because he hates them. Yeah, to be fair, I don't think no one hates Leicester more than Diogo Jota.
No.
Right, I think this is where we disagree. What's your midfield three? And I'll tell you my midfield three.
See, my midfield three is floating. I think it'll go with Gravenberch, McAllister, and Jones.
Okay. I think he'll go with Gravenberch, Jones, Szoboszlai.
Yeah, wouldn't be adverse to that.
But there's two reasons I've got my head for McAllister being on the bench. Mm-hmm. One, he's on 4 yellows now because of his yellow he picked up at City, and I think because of the way Everton will play, I think you'll need his creative spark more in that game. And two, that midfield that they're going to play of Joe Linton, Willock, and Longstaff or Tonali. Big.
I think Bruno Guimaraes plays in the middle of the park with Sean Longstaff, and I think they try to free up Willock and Joe Linton.
Yeah,
but I can see Anthony Gordon given that free role as a 9 to be able to drift across the line to find it. So one thing, look, I remember I watched back the highlights of that 2-1 loss for Newcastle, win for us last season. Gordon took his goal really well. It was stupid ball back to Trent. Trent made a mistake, and he snapped on it, and he didn't think twice about the finish. It was a cool, composed finish. If he gets a sniff anywhere near with space to run into, he's lethal.
And he's a man in form for them.
Exactly.
By the way, Dan Jay nicked my team, which is really annoying. But I also thought for physicality side, I think this is one of those games where I know it sounds a bit old school, but 3 6-footers in the middle would be quite handy. And then the front three, I would go with Salah, Nunes, Gakpo. Couple of reasons. The reason I go for them three is Nunes and Gakpo's record at Newcastle's good. Gakpo's the man in form goals-wise. I think it does Nunes good. I'm protecting Diaz because I think he put an awful lot of running, especially as the false 9 in the last 2 games. And I think that was the reason I was just protecting his legs.
Yeah. No, I think that if I'm Livramento and Schär on that side, I do not want anything to do with Luis Diaz running at me. No. And I think last season he ripped Kieran Trippier a new one. Yeah. While we was 11v11, he destroyed him. And he looks like he just loved playing up there. He loved the space he was available to him. And I think on that side of the pitch, more than likely you could have Jacob Murphy, Sean Longstaff, Livramento as Newcastle's right-hand side. See, if you have Robertson, Diaz, and McAllister as our left-hand side of the pitch, I think they could really do some damage. But it's one of those. If Gakpo starts, totally understand why, totally understand the reasons for it, and it's not a drop-off. It's just a bit different.
It's just a bit different. What Gakpo lacks in pace, he gives you physicality and a real aerial threat. I mean, to be fair, actually, both him and Diaz are very good in the air.
Yeah,
which is what people don't talk about. I just hope Darwin plays like he did when he came on against City. That's that type of destruction, because both centre backs at City couldn't be arsed with that. And I don't blame some guys about 6'4". Big, strong, powerful, pacey, won't leave you alone and just harangue you. You can't be dealing with that sometimes.
No.
So
I think as long as we play our game, we've got too much for them. irrespective of what form they're in. I just look at their potential 11. I look at our potential 11. We're just better than them. But at the same time, as we saw last season,
don't give them any hope.
A red card changes a game. And that red card that Virgil picked up last season, while you look back at it and it's like letter of the law kind of thing, it's soft, but it is a red card.
Yeah, I was amazed how much hoo-ha there was over it being a red
card.
Yeah, I know we'd had I think it was on the back of we'd had a couple of soft ones. We'd had
the McAllister one,
the Jones one. I get that, but that one to me was like he's gone to clear the ball. He didn't get the ball. He kicked right through his ankle, and he's clean through. And he's and he's denying goal scoring opportunity. All schoolers, I would say, he's last man.
Yeah,
I know it's not the rule now, but it's the same thing in it.
Yeah, but the other option that they do have is Harvey Barnes. They could very well put Harvey Barnes and Anthony Gordon as like not a pair up front, but as two forwards, and look to flood the midfield and block off the space in the midfield and almost play like the away side. Where, I mean, Eddie Howe's got a terrible record against us. But at the end of the day, it's like everything. You keep doing it and you keep doing it. Eventually, I think it's 17. He's played 17 games against Liverpool, and he hasn't. The last win he had was the
4-2. The fourth, was it the 4-2? The last game we lost when we led at halftime.
It's a Bournemouth, wasn't it?
Yeah, the horrible green kit when Karius had a fucking mare.
Yeah. So they have options. It's not like they've got poor players. You've still got, I haven't mentioned Tonali too much, and you've got Harvey Barnes as well. So they carry a goal threat. They'll be at home. Their crowd will be well up for it. They hate us. So it's like,
listen, Newcastle's
our
game
away fans will be right up in the nosebleed section as well.
It'd be like to watch it on a stream. They'll be that far.
Yeah.
It's on Amazon Prime. So honestly, I'll be doing the post-match show and the game will still be on and be telling the background. That's how slow Amazon Prime is. It's horrendous. But I digress. So, score prediction, the rules.
Yeah, 2-0. I think I agree with what comment. I agree with what you said in one of the comments. I don't know, one of the shows recently. This side looks like it's absolutely fallen in love with defending again. And we look like we're absolute misers in giving up chances, let alone giving up, goals or what have you. It looks like they take umbrage and offense when they give up a chance. So, and I absolutely love it. It's going to be a massive task to pick up a clean sheet up there again and to keep the run going. But I think there's goals in this side. I think we've scored 13 now in our last 5.
Against them or just in general?
No, in general. We're just in really good form at the minute, and you just want that form to continue.
Yeah.
So
score 13, conceded 6, 5 wins, 1 draw. Top of the form guide. We're talking about the form guide because a few people that are higher up than I don't think people realise. But we'll go through that in a minute. So who are your goal scorers for our 2-0 then?
My goal scorers are Darwin and Darwin.
Double Darwin.
Double Darwin.
Double Darwin.
Double D. Double Darwin.
So me and Dan Jay don't agree anymore because he's Puck Jugger was the score. I mean, we'd all love it, but
I would love it. I'll go full Kevin Keegan. I'll go full Kevin Keegan.
I'm going with Avos 3-1, but I'll go Verge, Mo, and I do think Darwin will score. But I'm going 3-1 because I think Gordon will score for them. But what's interesting is while we've got our game on, there's quite a few other games going on at the same time.
Yeah. By the way, our game is 7:30 kickoff. Okay. All right. So no matter what happens, we won't be doing a post match. I don't want to be coming on doing a post match until after the other games finish. If everyone in the chat is okay with that, let us know. If you want us to come on like quarter of an hour after our game finishes, let us know. Put it in the comments after the show tonight. But let us know what time you want us to come on and do the post-match show tomorrow night, because I think most of us will want to keep an eye on the 2 later kickoffs. So if you guys want to do that, then we'll come on straight after. But put it in the comments after the show, and Gav will be able to spot it, and he'll let us know what he wants us to do.
Bit of on-air admin. Jonathan, I'll be honest, if that happens, while the post-match show will be amazing, I might not make it because I might have a heart attack. He's put 2-1, Salah 93rd, 95th minute. Pardon my language, fuck that. I've only just recovered from the amount of 95-minute winners we had last year. I don't want another one of them. Though, admittedly, Kev, although it was a shit season, that Carvalho winner at Anfield was still... That was perfect, still one of the great post-match shows you me did.
Yeah.
The rest of that season was shite, but that one night was quite...
That was brilliant. Good. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But look, it's up to you guys. So just put it in the comments section after the show finishes tonight, and Gav will see it, and he'll tell us what he wants to do.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the other games, and we'll talk about rivals who are just below us. So Arsenal's playing Man United at Arsenal, which is a big game. Did you know Man United are third in the form guide for the last 6 games?
Yeah.
Arsenal are 10th.
Mm.
For all the bleating and moaning and conspiracy theories Arsenal fans have, and basically Liverpool's ball's going to pop up, seen all the social media stuff, usual excitement. There's a little bit of get your own house in order a little bit here, because 2 wins in the last 6 is not really great, and they're not even averaging 2 points a game at the moment. So if we're saying at the moment, I did some rough maths, we're doing a 90-point season, Arsenal are going to have to go at a rate of 2.6 a game over the rest of the season. That's a big ass. That's like winning like 20 to 21 of your remaining games. Whereas for us to get to 90 now, we can get away with winning probably 17. So there's a long way to go, but they've got to get a wriggle on with some form soon. And it's probably the worst time to play Man United because new manager, confidence, got a win under his belt. I know it was against poor Everton side, but he's got the win under his belt.
Yeah.
You would rather play United, you'd rather want 10 Hgs United than, because you don't quite know what the new fella's going to give you at the moment.
Yeah. Here's the thing, right? I think Arsenal, when they get their best 11 on the pitch, they're as good as anything in the league. All right. And that's just the truth. I just don't think they can get they can keep their best 11 on the pitch often enough, given the amount Arteta has run them for the last 2 years. I think they're being asked an awful lot of questions this season, and it's mainly around their physicality. Can they physically keep going like they need to keep going? And that's the difficult thing. I think they beat United. I'd be surprised if they didn't. I mean, it would be funny if they didn't. It'd be great for us. But I would be very, very surprised if Arsenal don't comfortably dismantle what is still a very flimsy Manchester United 11. I don't care what the forum guide says. If their predicted lineup is Harry Maguire, De Ligt, and Mazwari at the back, in the back 3 with Dalot and Ahmad as your wing backs, those 2 wing backs will be pushed back all night long, and Arsenal will push them back into a 5, and they don't have the legs in midfield to be able to keep up with the likes of Odegaard, Rice, Partey. They just don't. On any measure, if Manchester United got anything out of tomorrow night's game, it would be a massive achievement. Massive.
It would be. But Arsenal have dropped a lot of their points against mid-table sides, so you never know. Anyway.
You never know. But in fairness, when Arsenal were dropping points, let's be honest, it was when they didn't have Odegaard and Saka wasn't available. I think you take those 2 players out of that side, they're a completely different beast.
And they kept getting players sent off, which was also quite funny.
Yeah.
Villa against Brentford. Villa have gone massively off the boil. I think it's 1 win in the last 6 in the league, but in all competitions, it's like no wins in the last 8. It looks like there's a rumor that Martinez has had to have surgery on his finger, so it's going to be Olsen in goal.
Olsen in goal, yeah.
Yeah, and now they're at home to Brentford, who are a mad side. They are top of the form guide. at home. They have the best home record in the league. Away from home, they're absolute bobbins in terms of getting points. They just can't get a point away from home. But with no Martinez and the way Brentford played, that's going to be a good challenge for them. That, especially bangs back, because they were. I'll be honest, they were humbled by Chelsea quite comfortably.
I think with Brentford, if they can keep Damsgaard fit and available and get him on the ball, they're a difficult prospect for anyone at the minute. In Buemo, Vissa, Shade, they've got forwards who are in form. They've got defenders who don't mind defending. Actually, Sepp van der Berg is having a decent season for them.
Yeah.
It looks like the move to there has paid off for him. He's doing really well. But this is a huge game for Villa. Villa have to get a win out of this game to kickstart their season again, because they're in danger of Europe being a real problem for them. The volume of football on the squad depth is a real problem. And if they don't get a win tomorrow night, or even if they lose tomorrow night, you can see the Villa crowd starting to ask questions of Unai Emery. And while he's got credit in the bank, that credit isn't endless. And the run of games that he's on at the minute, he could start feeling a bit of pressure.
Yeah. The other one is Southampton at home to Chelsea. I would assume a routine Chelsea win. We don't really talk about it. So Chelsea are the
be interesting with Southampton, because Southampton, even against Brighton, bossed the ball.
But they're generally rubbish in both boxes.
Yeah. But what did you make of that VAR decision at the end? The one that took like 7 minutes.
Nonsense.
For that disallowed goal at the end.
Absolute nonsense. He said he's interfering with play. The ball's played behind him. And he doesn't touch the ball. So he doesn't touch the ball. So that's one negative against it. It's played behind him. He's nowhere near the keeper's eye line, because the keeper doesn't even complain that he's in him. To me, I think they got done there badly by VAR. Really? I think that's a goal.
He's offside by a country mile. I don't see the debate.
Yeah,
he's literally in front of the keeper. He's in an offside position. The defender stops. The defender doesn't even challenge him because he can see he's offside. And he's straight in front of the keeper. How is he not interfering?
I saw it, I just went, that's a goal. So
I saw it and I thought, he's a mile offside.
But then again, I've got no time for the Southampton manager, so actually it's quite funny watching his sour face, so I didn't care.
It was hilarious seeing his post-match.
Oh, he's
hilarious, because I can't stand his arrogance.
Yeah, it's arrogance, but he's not backed it up with anything yet.
No, exactly. He's talking as if he's actually achieved something. It's like he got up in the playoffs against the run. He wasn't expected to come up. And he's suffering from, I said it last night, he's suffering from Vincent Kompany syndrome. We are going to play this way because this is how I believe football should be played. You'll be down in the Championship next season.
Or at Bayern Munich.
Or
how it works.
Munich,
That's how it works, isn't it?
Hey, look, he's at Bayern Munich. Vinny's at Bayern Munich because he's Vincent Kompany, and that's the only reason he's at Bayern Munich.
Well, it does help. It does help. Right, let's talk about the two big games that we all really want to have a bit of talk about. Man City at home to Forest. I'll probably say a few weeks ago, you go, routine, Man City win. Yeah. City haven't won in 7. Forest are second in the form guide. 4 wins, 2 losses. Chris Wood's on fire. They've got pace to burn. They've got a centre-back pairing that love defending, and they're a good partnership. They've got a better keeper than what they've had for a while. I just keep looking, going, City should win. If you ask me to put me money on something, would you put money on City win? Probably, yeah. But I think it's going to be a bit of a horrible game. This could turn into a bit of one of those horrible games for City. And by the way, that result has proper rattles some of their City players. I didn't mind the Pep putting 6 fingers up to the crowd, because I thought, do you know what? He was getting stick off the crowd. He gave it back. Gave it back. Do you know what? That's the fun of football.
What I didn't like is the comments after.
I didn't like Ruben Diaz's comments, which was just stunk of arrogance, of like, we've won the league so many times. It was like, how dare you question us? The keeper talk about how it's a poor part of the world. So that's why they say things like that. And it was being a bit overprecious. Oh, I didn't expect that from the Liverpool crowd. Did you not?
That's not
all
that's
football crowds.
nonsense.
All football crowds.
All football crowds do that.
You know. So I didn't like that side of it, but it'd be interesting what they do because I don't think he's got many options to rotate.
I think I was surprised the other day that he didn't go with Grealish because it's the one thing that Grealish will do. And I know Jack Grealish hasn't been on form this season. The one thing he will do is get you up the pitch and he'll win your fouls.
Sure.
He'll win your fouls. He'll get you set pieces. You can work from there. When you're playing against a side like Liverpool, who will try to dominate the ball, and that's what you need. So someone who can relieve pressure. I just wanted to come back to what Mick said actually there 1 second. I firmly believe that goal was offside, and nothing will change my mind on it. Sorry, it just is what it is for me. But man, I watched Pep's sit-down interview with Sky before our game. I watched it tonight actually, and he's all open enough. I think he's got no choice. I think that interview is actually as honest an interview as I've seen him do in a while, where he's literally sat down and said, he basically sat down and said, they haven't got it in them to go again. They've won 4 titles in a row. That is ridiculous by anyone's stretch. And forget the Chargers for a second. Winning 4 titles in a row is ridiculous. Okay. Asking that same core squad, to go and do it a 5th time after you bought badly is never going to happen.
The lads they brought in, most of them just don't feel like City players.
No. I think Gav made a great point in one of the shows recently. You look at the wingers that they lost in Mahrez and Sterling. Mahrez and Sterling carry goal threats at Man City. Mahrez coming on with 20 minutes to go, and you're like, oh, shit.
I hate
Leroy Sané
coming
up. Leroy Sané is a nightmare. This lot, Savinho doesn't carry a goal threat. He's a tricky winger who'll give service to Haaland, but he's not going to help Haaland with, taking the pressure off him to score. Doku the same. Doku's a tricky winger. He'll put balls into the box. He'll beat a winger.
Really?
He'll beat his fullback.
I don't think he puts balls in the box. He beat his man 3 times.
I watched it the other day, right? And he does do a job with a fullback, but he will cut back balls into the box. And it's up to the midfield who don't have the legs to get up and make the numbers. This is their problem. Man, do you know what would be very interesting in watching that game tomorrow night is Yates. Yates is the type of player for Forest who, if he's available and if he plays, he'll get about that midfield and he'll kick lumps out of a few of them. And they don't have as Keith would say, they don't have the minerals to be able to give it back. And I think they're look, we know they're missing Rodri, but they're desperately missing Kovacic. They don't have a natural central midfielder in that squad. And I think City will probably get a result, but I don't think I think this could be anything but easy. I just think Forest will go down. I think Forest will be a bit starstruck. And I don't know if they will roll over, but you saw it in the Arsenal game. They were just soft.
But the Arsenal game was weird because, again, another one of the dispelled myths for Arsenal, which is like Liverpool always play teams at the right time. I think they had 3 of their best players didn't even get involved. Chris Wood was on the bench. Morgan Gibbs-White wasn't even in the squad, so it plays into your hands a little bit. I still think it's mental that Alvarez left. And I understand he wanted to leave for regular football, but didn't try and bring anybody in because he played a lot of games last year and he was, if Haaland didn't score, Alvarez got you.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the bit they haven't really solved is if Haaland doesn't score, who's your regular backup? Because it can't keep being the centre back.
Yeah. And the other thing, I suppose, if you look at it that way, Forest have a Chris Wood who can get him up the pitch. And in Morgan Gibbs White, I think Forest will do really well to keep him. I think he's better. He's capable of playing at a higher level than what he is at Nottingham Forest. He's kind of like reminds me of Eze, Antoine Semenyo at Bournemouth. I think he's a level above. I think he can play in Europe. Whether it's at a top level or whatever, I think he could play in European competitions on a regular basis. So it'll be an interesting result to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah.
The other one, though.
The last one is Everton at home to Wolves. This is the proper old school 6-pointer. If Wolves win, which will only be their second win of the season, they will go above Everton. That's how tight it is at the bottom. One win takes you quite clear. Everton's problem is they can't score goals. Even when they got battered 4-0 by United, they should have scored a couple before United got there first. But they can't score.
And Wolves' problem is they can't help conceding goals. Even to the stage where their keeper tries to give a side a helping hand.
Oh, that's it. Which one was worse? The first, his first penalty giveaway, his second one, both were quite comical. His second one was ridiculous.
The second one was bad. But at the same time, you have to question the defender passing the ball back in the first place. That's why I question the manager. Because the manager is telling him to pass out from the back through the thirds.
Yeah.
And what have you. But you've got players there who are not capable of doing
I do think with the third goal, it might have been more of a, it's fine to pass back to the keeper. I just think he gets the pass all wrong. He completely underhits it. And
it was a bad one.
I don't think that has anything to do with style of play or what manager does. I think it's just a generic fuck up. And
Gav was listing off the fixtures that Everton have coming up. All right. And I haven't got them to hand. All right. But I don't think it makes pleasant reading. Tomorrow night for Everton is 100% must win at all costs. They have to get a win tomorrow night. Because and the more I go back to what Gav was saying last night, and if you haven't watched the show from last night, go back and watch it. The run of results they have between now and the middle of January is very conceivable that if they don't get a win tomorrow night, they won't get a win until early next year.
Right, here's Everton's fixture list then. So they've got Wolves at home, then it's Liverpool at home, Arsenal away, Chelsea at home, City away on Boxing Day, Forest at home, and then in January, Bournemouth away before they play Peterborough in the Cup. And then the game after Peterborough is Villa at home, then it's Tottenham at home, Brighton away, and then 1st of February, it's Leicester at home.
That's a long time.
That's a nasty run.
That's a nasty run of fixtures. And in fairness, if you're even,
I'm not saying that just to wind Everton up. If we had that run, you'd be going, "Oh, that's a bitch of a run we've got." You know. So I think
as run of fixtures go, that's not nice at the best of times. But if you're a manager in that situation, or if you're Everton and you're even contemplating getting rid of Sean Dyche, if you're a manager coming in, looking at that squad and looking at that run of fixtures, you're not hiding to nothing. Even if they could get someone to come in of note, they're in a world of trouble. I didn't realize how much trouble they were actually in until we were talking about it last night.
Yeah, sort of crept up on you because the previous year there's always been the PSR stuff, so you kind of went, well, that's kind of what's causing it. But this year it just hasn't got going. I mean, but there'll be Prime Brazil on Saturday, but that's a different pre-match show. We'll worry about that.
I think they're more likely to be Prime Uruguay. Back in the day when Uruguay were Uruguay and they would kick lumps out of you.
Somebody put in the chat Sam Allardyce's Bolton. Remember those days? That was kryptonite for us. That Sam Allardyce Bolton side. It was horrible. Yeah,
100%. Cool. But I mean, this week, this two sets of fixtures, midweek and weekend, could be moving day for a lot of clubs.
Yeah.
And we'll see how the table looks at the end of it. But the hope is we do our part, pick up 6 points over the next two games.
Would you take 4 if it was offered to you now?
No,
Okay.
we should be picking up 6.
Yeah,
and
no,
that's not,
I agree.
genuinely.
I agree.
If you'd have offered me that option on the week that we've just had,
yes,
then I'd take a draw, a win and a draw out of Madrid and Man City, either order, take your pick, no problem. Newcastle, as much as a live threat as they can be at home, we have enough to beat them. And Everton away, as long as you play Everton and not the last derby at Goodison Park and the atmosphere and buy into all that crap, then we should get a good win there. The hope is that you come out with players healthy. You know, that Joe Linton doesn't decide to kick lumps out of players, and Everton players don't decide to try to be a saviour for themselves.
The next 2 games will be quite physical battles.
It will be physical, yeah.
Physical. And look, that's not crying it in. That's just, that's the way they play. And, look, you've got to adapt to it. But that will take a lot out of it, because I think the City game, while wasn't overly physical, I think it's got a lot of emotion around it because of, who it is, and beat a rival just adds a bit of extra spice to the game. So cool, right? Anything else, Kev, before we go?
Yeah, just one thing there. Give me 1 second. I just need to find it.
While you're doing that, don't forget our 2 charity partners, the Lighthouse Cafe in Dublin and Fan Supporting Food Banks in Liverpool. We are aiming to try and get to €10,000, 5,000 for each charity. Links in the description below. So if you can give, please give. If you can't give, please share it around WhatsApp groups, put it on social media. Let's try and get as much money as we can for these charities, especially this time of year. We don't want people going hungry around Christmas time. So if you can give to that, that'll be amazing.
Right. And the other one is footballprizes.co.uk are back with huge Liverpool competition strikers edition. Luis Suarez signed and custom LED framed Liverpool shirt, plus 19 other instant win prizes. The links for that will be going out on all the socials over the next 24 hours. When you see them, have a look, have a go. Great present for someone for Christmas. But it's $3.95 a ticket. There are 500 tickets available. The competition ends on Friday, the 13th of December at 7:30 p.m. The other shirts that I'm seeing on here are Diogo Jota, Robbie Fowler, Michael Owen, Divock Origi, Fernando Torres, all shirts for them, plus various other prizes. So check it out and have a go, and let us know if you actually get a win as well, because Ashley put up some stuff that she's won on there in the past. So it'd be nice to get some other viewers in there and get some good wins there.
Yeah, cool. Right, guys, on that happy note, please like, please subscribe, all that good stuff. Don't forget to leave comments after the show, because we do like your feedback. We do read the feedback. So go on.
But let us know about the backgrounds. Just let us know about the backgrounds. If you want us to keep them, great. We'll find some different ones, and we'll find ones you like. If you don't, you want us to go back to just how it was, let us know, and that's what we'll do. Also, let us know about what time you want us to come on tomorrow night for the show. If you want us to come on after the Arsenal game, let us know. If you want us to come on, within 10 minutes of our game finishing, we'll do that too. No problem.
Fair enough. Cool. Right. So until then, we will see you. Well, me and Kev will be back tomorrow. I think we've got Ashley and Matt. I think we've got
Ashley's back tomorrow. Full house, yeah, it'd be cool.
I think Matt, full house tomorrow. Well, we let Matt back in after his gallivanting. You know what it's like. Yeah. Right. On that happy note, take care of yourself. Speak to you soon.